made you the co-host so you can do what you like.
Oh,
And Andy LeCompte, this mic is all yours, my friend.
well, thank you very much for inviting me back. And I had a good time last time and enjoyed the comments and feedback that we exchanged. And I'm ready to go with continuing to talk about true empathy. Um, and why don't I start by putting up the the hopes, which I think are so critical. Let's see. There it is. Yeah. So it's this.
Oh, I love the way you've done this. This is so awesome, Andy.
Yeah. So really, what we think of our uh, brother and sister is that they're just like us. They want to survive. They want good things. They want to connect with other people. See the connection hopes on the right. They want to be heard and understood, have thoughts considered by others, be accepted, be appreciated, experience harmony, experience closeness and intimacy, to be supported, trusted, loved, a communion, and to help others get their hopes met. So when our hopes are met, we delight in helping others meet their hopes. Sometimes it's better to meet their hopes first so they calm down, and then we can see about getting our hopes met. And then we also all have freedom hopes to have our own thoughts and opinions, our own feelings, our own interpretations, to choose how we spend our time, to have our own values, our own dreams, goals, and aspirations, to say what we think and feel, to express our creativity, to experience privacy, order, and psychological safety, to be treated with honesty, and to be respected. So there they are, the universal hopes that we all have, and that in communication, we can help our others get in touch with their own hopes. So this is empathic listening. And it's very much like the description in the course about true empathy, where we see the more angelic, loving qualities in our brother and sister and help them connect with that. And that we're meeting this first connection hope. People want to be heard and understood. That's usually the first thing. So this is what our initial focus is in my book, Creating Harmonious Relationships, a practical guide to the power of true empathy. So let me just close that and see who's in the room. Most people are online, I guess. Is that correct?
Yeah, everybody here's online. I put my hand up because I didn't want to just bombard you. But I have to tell you, I'm the one that wrote to you on Messenger.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sharon. Yeah.
yeah. And I just wanted to say this when you say freedom hopes, I say I love the list that you made because when we're really looking at, we all have the same needs, you know. And what I saw, like in the Course in Miracles, true empathy is really to see everyone as the Christ. But what you're doing in the book is you're giving us skills to do that. In other words, because we're still in a physical universe, and that's important to be able to me to relate, you know, and just because I genuinely love people. So I love this book I have it. So I'm looking at it. So if you could teach all parts of that, that would be great. I would love it. I would
Uh,
show, yeah. Anyway, I'll put it up.
yeah, exactly. That's the problem. We're angelic or Christ beings stuck in form. And with it comes negative judgment, ego. It's kind of built in to the physical form being. And we have to find a way to skirt that, to get around that, to get through it, so that we can really connect with the Christ in our brother. So one of the key ways to do that, can you still see the screen?
No, we're just seeing you now.
All right, let me come back with that. Okay. So this is going to be, we need to overcome the obstacle of our own internal judge about how we hear other people, because that directly affects our communication with them. So imagine this situation. I'll just read through it, and then we'll read some possible responses. One morning, you arrive at work, and your manager asks you to do something for him. He needs it done by 5 p.m. You plan to do it right away, but an emergency comes up that takes your full attention. Then an emergency follows the first one, and the day becomes frantically busy. You forget all about what the manager asked you to do. At the end of the day, as you're about to leave for home with some other employees, your manager walks up to you and requests the work he'd asked for. You start to explain about the emergencies. He cuts you off and says loudly, "I don't give a damn. I pay you to get work done, not to muck around." You start to reply, but he interrupts. "Save your excuses." Then he turns his back and leaves. The other employees pretend not to have heard. You're quite upset, and rather than go home, you stop at your friend Joan's house and tell her the whole story. Imagine that Joan replies to you in the following ways, and notice how you feel when Joan listens to you in this way. So you tell her what happened, and she says, "Don't let it bother you. It was just a misunderstanding. There's no reason to take it so hard." Let me get down. I'll just use this too. "Don't let it bother you. It was just a misunderstanding. There's no reason to take it so hard." So what's happening inside Joan's mind? Joan's judge is uncomfortable with your emotion and is attempting to avoid discomfort by denying your feelings and minimizing the incident. Okay, failure number one. Here's another way Joan could respond. "How awful. You must be devastated. Oh, you poor thing. I feel so sorry for you." Her judge is assuming that you are incapable of getting your needs met. Her judge is projecting self-pity onto you in the form of sympathy. Joan says, "Here's what you can do. Go in early, finish the work, then admit to your manager that you slipped up and let him know you won't forget his requests in the future." Her judge sees you as incompetent or defective and is giving you advice to fix you. Joan says, "It's important to get top priority work done on time." Her judge has taken a moralistic stance, evaluating your actions as bad and chosen to correct you. "You think that's bad? Do you know what my old boss did to me? He told me to shape up or ship out in front of the whole office." Her judge is egotistically attempting to shift attention to herself. Her commiseration perpetuates her judge's cynical worldview. So this type of communication is also highlighted in Eric Berne's book, Games People Play. Okay, Joan says this. "Didn't you understand the importance of what he wanted? How could you forget it? Have you done things like this before? Why didn't you stay late and finish it?" The judge is questioning you to expose what is wrong with your thinking and your behavior. Joan says, "I can see why he'd be upset. Managers need to be able to count on employees to carry out their requests. So her judge is taking the superego or parent position, projecting it onto your boss and siding with him. You're really bringing this up to make a statement about the company's leadership. Jones' judge has judged your motivation to be bad and thinks you are keeping it from yourself. She's telling you what your real motivation is. Jones says, you're upset because you see your boss as another victimizer. When you were a child, you saw yourself as a victim of your father's anger, and now your manager is reminding you of your father. That's why you're so afraid of him. Her judge is judging you negatively and hiding her judgment behind the mask of a psychological explanation. So let me come back, see what people have comments about any of those things, those responses from,
Yeah, I have some comments, Andy. This is every single one of those scenarios with what Joan said and what her judge was saying. So clear. That's so very clear that, I hear that all the time. I do it myself. These responses that just, either I'm judging or I'm diagnosing or I'm, you know, making it about me or giving advice. I mean, I do all of these things. Of course, not all the time, and not when I'm trying very hard to really communicate. But sometimes if we don't understand or don't know how to do it, is not natural, and we mimic what we hear in the culture. We mimic what we heard from our parents, and we mimic what we heard from the books and movies and TV. And so, this is why we need a new way of communicating, because none of that works.
yeah,
So I love this. Thank you.
yeah, we've been badly taught for sure. I was at home by a very critical and angry parent, and who never gave me appreciation or saw that any of my hopes were met. So let's see what the right way to do it would be. Mhm. Okay. Yeah. So you can see that.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
great.
All right. So now let's imagine that Joan listens consciously to you. The dialogue would sound like this. She says, boy, that sounds like a rough experience. Yeah, it was. Were you upset when he spoke to you like that? I was really embarrassed when he said that in front of the others. Would you rather have been spoken to more respectfully? Yes, or at least in private. So, that's more satisfying because first she gets the feeling, and you find out is the emotion was embarrassment. Joan suggests upset, a generic kind of emotion. And yes, then I say, or the you person says, yeah, I was really embarrassed that he said that in front of the other people. So then that cues her into what else he was hoping for. Would you rather have been spoken to more respectfully? Yes, or at least in private. So bingo, heard, understood. So it's more emotionally satisfying. Uh, True empathic listening focuses on what the speaker is saying. As the story unfolds, it goes directly to the heart of the problem, validating the speaker's energy imbalance, their feeling, identifying the unmet hope, and then meeting the unmet hope in whole or in part by understanding it. By connecting with your hope, Joan let you feel worthy of respect, even if you had made a mistake. In this way, conscious listening is unlike other listening models. And this is the steps in true empathic listening. Something happens, a stimulus. What happens? First thing, you become alarmed, you become aware of your emotional state. So this takes, the alarm is, oh, I'm upset. Then you have to center yourself and remember you're okay, that you're not going to be killed. And then you use conscious override. You choose the goal of connecting with the other person instead of dealing with your own alarm. So you've centered yourself so we can really do this. So then you listen. And you listen by guessing at the feelings and guessing at the hopes of the other person. So, I don't know, can I, whoops. Okay. So we're back in the room?
Yes, here we are.
All right. So, what do you think of the model for true empathy, empathic listening?
Yeah, Karen has her hand up.
Okay.
Hi, Andy. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
Well, first, I want to say the first one that you showed reminded me of just what you said. It reminded me of my parents. You know, how I was brought up and how unhelpful it was, and how I was never heard. And it didn't matter what I said because it wasn't important. And then what the second, the conscious listening, I really love the conscious listening. And it really reminds me of the course, because in the course, you know, in true empathy and throughout the whole entire course, what we're learning is that we don't know anything and we don't know what anything is for. You know, we just don't know. And so that's when we go inside and we just wait, we listen, we ask our inner teacher because we really don't know, you know, and by listening, by being quiet and leaving that space, you know, for me, it's just being quiet and really listening, that conscious listening, like you were talking about. We leave that space to get the true answer, which is just practicing just, you know, that is true empathy, you know, not no, keeping your mind open. I don't know what the answer to this, and really truly listening, like Ken Wapnick would say, listen to the melos, listen. That's like listen, that's a part of a music. He would compare it to music. The melos is like listening to what's in between the notes, what's in between the words, really listening to a person, you know. And so that's what this reminds me of, and it's very, very helpful. So I love it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Karen. That's a good little summary of it. Thanks again. I see Reverend Wayne has a hand up.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say that both parts, the first part and the second part, it's interesting. I mean, I was raised that way also, with a very a strict moral-based system, and it's in your head a lot as you grow up, as you get older. You find yourself saying these things about people, whether they're there or not. It's repeating all those things that you put there. All the first part, you're always judging people. The judge is always on. You
Yeah.
know, so it's not as if it is, the people have to even be there for those things to play out over and over and over and over again. Someone comes up in your mind, and seeing that you're judging that person.
Mhm.
And then, so when you see that person, you're seeing them totally in accordance with those things you put there, with all those little, you know, with the first thing. And to say is if you broke it up into that Christ of the ego, and if you're choosing Christ, you have that second one.
Yeah.
You know, and one is not judging at all. You're just sitting there, and if you could do that with everything and everyone,
Yeah.
just come at them from that place of love.
Exactly. Yes, Reverend Wayne, definitely. Um, we're born and brought up in families pretty much at random, and we don't have these skills. And it actually takes quite a bit of work and quite a bit of practice to be able to stop your own emotional rush and think, okay, I'm upset, but I'm going to hold it. I'm going to really listen for, and it's nice to know what two things to beat in on. You want to focus on the person's feeling first and get them settled like, okay, they understand my emotion. And then what is their hope? What is it they would have liked to have happened instead? Or what would they like to happen in the future? So yes, dead on. We're all born with a negative judge. It's part of the ego, almost the formative or identifying part of the ego is the judge. Anybody have any examples you want to work through? Oh, Lynn, you have your hand up.
Yes, so thank you. This is really great. So a couple of things that you were just talking about. Um, excuse me, the guessing, which is something that, most of us do, but don't actually communicate. So, when you're seeing how somebody's upset or they're having difficulty, you can guess, I guess you're pretty upset about this.
Mhm.
Or, and and then from you offering, here's a thought, here's my, a thought about what's going on with you, the person then feels free to say, yeah, I was really embarrassed.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so then, I mean, you can even dig deeper that way, but you don't really have to. Once they recognize, oh, you really want to know how I feel.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so the guessing is not a bad thing. It really is helpful because a lot of times people can't articulate it or don't want to say it to you because that would reveal a certain vulnerability. Whereas if you broach the subject, then they feel like it's a welcome thing to say what they're really thinking or
yeah,
what's really going on.
yeah, exactly. Like if you're at a loss, you just can say, what would you rather have had happen? Uh, or what would you prefer? Um, or yeah, if you could have it your way, what would you like to see? And those are all just invitations for the person to open up about what they really want. And what they really want is good. Even if they say, I want to kill that SOB, you say, well, in that situation, what would you rather had happen? But you try not to pull the other person into it because it isn't about a person acting badly. That happened, but what it was uh, somehow it occurred that you couldn't get your hope met. And so you want to try to keep the focus off the other person, keep them from becoming a bad guy, and focus back on what did you really want? What in the best of all possible worlds, what would happen? I see Karen has a hand.
Thanks, Andy. I actually had that experience. So my uncle was really sick, and I really believed that he needed medical attention, and I thought that it would be best to call the ambulance, and he did not want me to. Well, I did it anyway. And he was very, very upset.
Yeah,
And when the ambulance came, when the paramedics came, he said, "You're not coming in here. I told her I didn't want you here, and I'm not allowing you in here. So, you just wasted your time coming." So he said, "I told you I didn't want them here. You didn't listen to me." And so I looked at that and I said to him, I said, "How could I have done this different?" That's just basically what you said. You said, "What would you rather have had happened?" I said, "How could I have done this differently? What could I have done differently?" And I didn't say that right away. I didn't say that right away. I went and I thought about it, what happened, and I felt really bad. I knew I was wrong. I admitted I was wrong. And when I asked him that question, he said, just when I say something, listen to me. You know, this is what I meant. I meant what I said, and you weren't listening to me. So it really taught me a lesson that, you know, because I thought I knew best. And we replayed it. It was like role play almost. Like,
Mm.
how could I have done this differently? You know, and it really is very, very helpful to go back and ask that question.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So if I'm your father and I say, no, don't call the ambulance, what do you say?
I'll say, okay, if that's how you really feel, I would feel more comfortable with it. But if that's how you truly feel, I respect your feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Or sometimes you can pull it back to yourself if you feel like, I want to call the ambulance and he says no. Uh, you might not feel really heard and understood because inside you're screaming, call the ambulance. You might tell them, Dad, I'm really afraid you might die or this might get worse. And if the ambulance came, they could check you out and, maybe they take you, maybe they don't. But I'm scared, and then see if, uh, given consideration of your feelings, he might say, okay, they can check my heart or something, I don't know. But
Yes, I actually did. I skipped all those steps. Got right to the point, but I did say those things. I told him I was very scared. I did say all of the above.
okay,
And he said he was okay. He felt he was okay. He didn't think I needed to be scared. So I actually did go through all those,
good.
and
Yeah,
so at that when it gets to that point and they really know, that's when I got to the end of it. But yes, I did go through those steps and he really said, "You look, I just don't want them here. I'm sorry you feel that way." He was pretty nice about it, but he just says, "No, I really don't want them here. I'm fine."
yeah.
So thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Very good example. Any other examples people can think of? They're fun to play through. Hmm. Yeah, but well, I haven't thought about this at all, but I'm just looking out the window and I see my new fence and the wind was blowing like crazy a few months ago, blew one of our trees over into the neighbor's yard and it fell on his cars and damaged both cars, not a lot. Um, but he was really upset. And, he says, I want you to pay for the everything. And I said, well, in this state, if a tree falls on a neighbor's property, it's the neighbor whose property it is. You have homeowners insurance that pays for that. And that's the way we did it when a tree fell on my car. I live with a lot of trees. And he wouldn't do that. He wasn't satisfied. He wanted to insist that it was my fault. And then he proceeded to have lawyers contact me, insurance companies and everything. And as I think about it, what I should have done is gone over and talked to him. I mean, none of his things came to anything, but he still got a chip on his shoulder. So I think I need to bring it up with him and say, gee, I'm sorry that tree fell down. See if I can, and then see if he's still holding anger about it or not. So that's an example of something that didn't happen, but I could have reached out more. And that's part of it is getting yourself comfortable enough with this mode of communication where you figure, I'm going to go over and see if I can find his feelings and hopes. And if I can't, I tried. The other thing, I mean, if people might want to think about what is your method of centering yourself. I mean, physically, usually it takes a deep breath and a kind of stepping back, either physically or mentally. And then what might you be thinking to yourself? This is my brother, this is the Christ. or this person is in anguish, or this person hates me, or this person is really on a rant about some other poor person. How do you center yourself? Anybody? Yeah, Reverend Wayne.
Yeah, what I do is I take some deep breaths, of course. I mean, just to get to a certain place, and then I tend to just allow whatever. I try to get in touch with my invulnerable nature, and I do that by allowing whatever's there to be there.
Mhm.
So if I feel anger, sadness, depression, if I feel a little frazzled, I allow all that just to bury to so as I like to put it, bury me. I don't try to fight it, and because I find that on the other side, I'm fine. All that tends to dissolve into nothingness.
Yeah,
And as long as I release it, that's how I release it. It's not a cure all, but it does center me.
yeah,
I'm not doing anything. I'm just being, and
yeah,
I'm not doing it. The key is not to do anything, to do nothing. Just sit there and allow whatever's there to just be there,
yeah,
and then I'm centered.
yeah. Yeah,
You know?
that's very good. In other words, just be there.
Yeah,
If you're not sure how to respond or react, just wait. Just be
yeah,
there. And
right.
their thing hangs in the air, and you both can get a better look at it while it's hanging in the air. Uh, he doesn't feel good if he's been attacking you or something. And he might have a moment himself to look at it again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The key is that for me was to live with, be able to be comfortable with uncertainty.
yeah,
And let that just be there and sit there with you, and eventually it just fades. It dissolves into certainty, into a
yeah,
into relaxation. Yeah,
yeah. Or just you can start easy, like I hear you're a little displeased, with what happened with something. And then you're asking them for what to define more what it is that they're displeased with. Yeah.
and one other thing, I'm sorry, I don't mean to take up too much time, but you had mentioned that you have one ask people what they would rather have happened.
Yes.
I used to do that once when I was younger. As an example, when I was younger, my daughters used to have. I used to be up all night. I'm still up all night, but I was wide awake at 3 in the morning. So if my daughters were crying, I would be wide awake. I wouldn't be knowing that was super tired going into the room. So if they had a nightmare, I used to bring them into the living room, and I say, what would you rather have happen at the end of that nightmare? And what do you mean? Well, it's not real. It's your story. What would you rather have happened? And they make a new ending up. I
Yeah.
close your eyes and make it happen. And they make
Mm,
it happen. And
mm.
now, whenever they look back on those dreams, they see the new ending.
That's beautiful.
And
That's
there was,
empowering.
yeah, it was a lot of fun too because they close their eyes and they turn the ending to their favor. And then they walk away. Oh, okay, thank you, Daddy. And they're crying and they're happy. So, sort of similar to actually, if life's a dream, then you can kind of manage it that way, approach it that way. I guess how would you how at the end, and then you try to reinterpret things.
That is beautiful. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, next time she has a nightmare, she can think, oh, I can just close my eyes and run it ahead
Yeah.
how I would like it to be. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Lynn.
Yeah, wow. First off, Wayne, that's amazing because isn't that a great thing to teach your kids? You can change the dream.
That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing, isn't it? I love it. That'll come in handy someday. Uh, but talking about how, when things seem to go wrong for me, which is, if you knew, I've been like through a lot of stuff and had a lot of emotional and physical, all kinds of crazy stuff have happened to me. But like everybody else, I'm not special in that way. But I've come actually to recognize that everything that happens, I can turn my camera on. I don't know why I have my camera off. Everything that happens, it's a lesson for me. Everything that's here that's happening is a lesson for me. So I used to, when things would go wrong, I would get paralyzed. I would like, oh, what am I going to do? And now I'm just like, okay, so what's the story here? What's the adventure here? I will, whatever it is, it's here to teach me something. What is it that I'm here to learn? Because what I understand from A Course in Miracles is, all things are lessons that God would have me learn. So, and if the lesson, you have to suffer in order to learn the lesson, that just means that you're really in denial or in resistance to the lesson. So if you accept it and say, okay, I'm here, tell me, what is it that you would have me learn from this situation? And by golly, it shifts me back into now looking at it objectively, and then the right questions come to my mind, the right path of action comes to my mind. It all comes to my mind naturally because I have let go of my need to control it.
Hmm.
I just realized, okay, I'm yours.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit, I'm yours. You do what you want with me. And and then I do get to see and hear things that I would probably never have seen or heard before. But it's that willingness to be open. And I think that's what all of us are really, wanting here, is to find that willingness within us to see things a different way.
Yeah.
So I love this, what you're doing here. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lynn. Very nice example of turning to think, okay, what's the Holy Spirit have to communicate to me about this experience? And that, like, I had this experience I described in my book where I was suddenly at home. I got all of these flu symptoms, like bang. I had a fever, an upset stomach, a headache. I felt dizzy. I lay down on the couch. I thought, oh, there's a big one coming on. And then I thought about, well, what is this about sickness and me entertaining it in this way? Aren't I, by lying down and feeling like a victim, sort of going along with that kind of thinking? And so I thought, oh, wow. Well, I mean, I guess if I'm going to demonstrate, if I'm going to teach, uh, what do I do? And so I said, okay. And I get up. Then it was a blizzard kind of thing. Snow had just stopped, actually. And I went out in the cold and I shoveled off the driveway. And the whole time I did it, I was reciting course lessons. And by the time I was done with the driveway, all my symptoms were gone. It was really a powerful experience for me. Okay, I saw another hand flitter. No.
You're muted, Lynn.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, Karen has her hand up. And yes, anybody that has anything that they'd like to share or questions for Andy, this is, this is such a gift to have someone to come here and voluntarily do this for us. So, please take advantage of it. Don't let him get by easy. Karen, go ahead.
Lynn, you're funny. First of all, I just want to say I love what everyone's sharing, and I really love what Rev Wayne shared about the nightmares with children. I mean, that is so helpful. I have two grandbabies, one great grandbaby and a grandbaby now growing up, and that is a great tool to have. And I'm agreeing with Lynn too, what she shared about, letting go and what is the lesson, because I'm getting ready to go through spinal surgery. And, I have a lot of other complications going on with my knee. And it's like, I'm trusting. It has a lot to do with trusting that everything is going to work together for my good, and I know that I knew when I made the decision to get this spine surgery that it was the right decision. I was thrown a curveball with my knee giving out on me. It's an old injury. I do need a replacement I've been putting off, but it's just showing me to pay more attention. What is the lesson? The lesson is to pay more attention to my body, take better care of myself, stop it, not letting things go so long. And so now I'm here at the finish line. I don't have much choice, and it's coming up. And so I'm trusting. I'm just trusting it, and I'm doing the next best thing. And I believe everything will work out because my attitude is trusting. So that's all I can do.
That's beautiful. I mean, I can hear in your voice that you're not in a fear state about it, like this is a terrible thing, and trust. We pray, we trust, and we're heard, really. So that's
And the course says trust will settle every problem now. So it's being in the present moment. I notice when I can really be in the present moment, I really don't even have any lessons to learn anymore. I mean, I don't even have to learn a lesson. When I'm here in the present moment, there's always going to be lessons to learn, don't get me wrong. But when I can fully be present, which is a practice and takes a lot of practice, there's really no lessons to learn because you're right there in the moment. Everything's perfect, but that's not easy. That takes a lot of practice to be there, but it's doable with a lot of practice. So thanks.
yeah. I mean, the dream analogy holds up, and that we're dreaming a world, and if we're dreaming a fearful world, we see a fearful world. And if we're dreaming a loving world, which means coming into the present and knowing that we're going to be okay, doing that conscious override, then we will be okay. So, yes, I wish you a relaxed and health-giving surgery, Karen. It sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen, for speaking up. I find myself going into anxiety over you, which is just ridiculous and is not helpful in any way at all. But I'm, how can I help Karen? What can I do for Karen? Knowing, but you're a long way away from me. So what I can do for you is love you, and of course we're always here for you, and I think that's when I had I had several surgeries on my knee, as some folks remember that, going through all that, and what I learned from that was that I could actually, by being in the present moment, not be in pain and not suffer. So that that was a great meditation for me in that case, and I think you're going to have the same kind of thing. I think you're going to get a lot of stuff out of this that besides having your back fixed. So anyway, thanks for speaking up, Karen. I love you.
Mm.
And I see Sharon has her hand up.
Well, it's almost time for him to leave. I just wanted to say, Andy, that you have so much humility in the way you are as a teacher. I can tell you from reading both your books, I thought to myself, this is a guy I would want to be a friend of because, sometimes you meet people and look, we're all in the same, we're all one. We all know that. And, we can use all the platitudes of the course, and the course read and it can be a very humble experience when you're really reading with your inner teacher. But when other people are teaching it, I think it becomes a little more egoic. And, some people have issues where they don't see the blind spots. But not everybody has arrogant egos. I think all egos arrogant, but I think that there's some that are different. But your humility and your gentleness, when I was reading that book, I was like, I just loved it because it was just the sweetest thing. And I'm a lot like you in the sense that I will tell the truth of what happened in my life, even if from a perspective of separate self, not from wholeness. And that to me is just beautiful. You are disarming, and to be disarming is the best gift you could give someone. You know, when somebody acts like they're higher than you, it doesn't. For me, I'm a very sensitive being, and so when I have that happen, I don't hear them. You know, it just, and I think a lot of it had to do with the way we showed up. You know, some of us show up like Lynn. She's a very sensitive soul. This group, Andy, we welcome you to this group because this is the most sensitive group I've ever been in. I just tell you, you would be, you know, so welcomed, you know, and the book is a great book. It's benign. It's only who's banging your head against it that doesn't work. And that's okay because we all learn from that. So thanks, Andy. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Let me see. Yeah, this has been very healing for me too. To talk about this and to re-engage with it and to think of, oh yeah, I've sort of forgot it with my neighbor, is bringing me back. And yeah, it's a very warm and supportive group. And I need it now. I had a very bad experience that was with a cult group, and I'm coming off of that. I've got my authentic self back, but this is very reinforcing about the truth and that I'm not a victim, and actually I'm not. I'm doing great now. But it's really wonderful to be with you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you, Sharon, for that. Yeah, you know, it's because nobody here is a leader. That's that's why everybody here, we expect everybody here to speak up, and we're all, you know, everybody is just the same as everybody else, and I think that makes a huge difference. If you're going to have a group, I mean, I run things and do, you know, technical stuff and whatever, but you know, I make sure everybody's free to be who they are and do what they do and be how they are, because that's the brotherhood. That's what we're here for. So joining the holy encounter that we have here every day, we have these groups, and every day it's like such a joy for me, and I'm sure everyone else here. That's why people keep coming back. So
You know, we all have this. This is a philosophy that I heard Gloria speak of. She's not here right now, but I'm going to have her listen to this too. She's a good friend of ours, and she always said that we're the student until we're not here anymore. If you think there's nothing to learn, you're mistaken. I mean, people are learning their lessons all the time. So when a being thinks they're done and they've reached Brahman, they're fooling themselves because you can't, because this is an undoing of the one mind. And there's just one of us that wakes up. So to me, it's all about mutual love, respect, empathy, just giving everybody a hug. Because let's face it, it's a harsh world if we believed it. You know, if we 100, Andy, I had a lot happen in my life too. And so when I read your book, I saw a lot of my own experiences. You know, I've had very bad depressions in my life and just things as a little girl that I had to go through. But, you know, there was a gentleness in me, and I just knew that that was going to take me far. And that's spirit, you know, the gentleness. So just look forward to seeing you next week, and look at our schedule. We'd love to have you come because Lynn runs these groups and it's just all of us. There's no one that's head of anything. And there's all empaths here. They're just very empathic. So,
Yeah, it feels that way.
yeah.
yeah, I depend on everybody else to do the work. That's all. I just put up the thing and say, you come and do the work, because then, you know, that's, you know, that it's maybe it's a little lazy, but you know, I think I enjoy it more listening to other people. So you know, that's what makes it so much fun.
Mm.
You know, every day it's new.
Yeah, it's great. Well, let's have a group hug.
Yay.
Yeah, I wish I had my picture up, but I can't, but I'm gonna get it fixed. I just don't know who's gonna fix it. But anyway, I could go on my phone, but this is just, I'm giving you a hug, everybody. Look at
Thank
look
you,
at
Catherine.
Aussie. Look how cute she is. I mean, we're just cartoon characters, right?
I
You know,
know.
we are.
We are so beautiful. And you know, God, I love you guys all so much. And there's Wayne. Hi, buddy.
Look at her. Yeah.
Me, I type by myself.
Good to see you.
Oh my
Good to see you.
goodness.
Does Karen go in next week, the Thursday? Is that when the operation is,
The
Karen?
20,
Yeah, on the 27th.
the
Okay,
27th.
I gotta, yeah, all
we'll
right.
pray for you on the air next week.
Andy, can I ask you one more question before you leave?
Yes.
So I love your nature, and you know, you grew up in a not so nice household. Did you learn by your parents to be more gentle and to be more loving and kind how did you get to be so gentle and kind the way you are today?
Well, I was desperate for love and connection, and I got a videotape handed to me, and it was of Marshall Rosenberg demonstrating nonviolent communication. And I can pull that picture up just as a way to close, maybe. Where to go? Baboon. Mhm.
So you got sick and tired of being sick.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I can see it. You saw it last time. It was just me as a young man, learning from the source, Marshall Rosenberg, about how to connect empathically with another person. And then I worked at it and I wrote my own book about it. So this is just an update on nonviolent communication.
Yeah, and wonderful. I mean, I love the way that you've done that. Because yeah, it's you know, this MVC is not something that is um set in stone. It really is something that can be, you know, the terms can be moved around. You can do a lot of different things, but it's the technique, it's the actual learning how to listen. There we go. Oh my, when I'm so shocked when I see this. You sitting there with Marshall. I love it. God bless you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, he was great.
yeah,
Love.
and
So thank you again. I've been very happy to be your guest and to learn and heal with you guys. It's wonderful. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
thank
Yeah,
you.
Andy.
I
We'll see you
appreciate
next
you.
week, maybe,
I
right?
love you. Thanks for being
Maybe,
here.
let me check my schedule, but I'll give you plenty of notice.
Yeah, let me
Okay.
know
Please come
because
back. Come back.
we'll keep the light on for you. So.
Yes, yes, you're a little angel. You're
Motel
beautiful.
6.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I
Thank
love
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
See
Bye.
y'all tonight for the deep dive into the manual, everybody. 7
See you
Okay.
at 7. Yep.
Yep.
Bye-bye.